Hey guys, what's going on? Dr. Dan, happy Monday morning. Y'all made it through the weekend. So did I somehow. Pardon me as I get the wardrobe sort of lined up. Whew, Monday feels like Monday for me too, folks. Look, might as well jump right into it, all right? Marijuana is medicine. Might as well just get into it, guys. So the PTSD test, all right, guys, that's sort of what I want to dig into today. Being as how in the cannabis certification business, post-traumatic stress disorder is a diagnosis that I encounter on a daily basis, really repetitively. Let me shine some light on the folks here. On the subject here, folks. Sorry. Still getting that first cup of coffee in on the Monday morning, guys. I miss talking to you folks. You know, I know you folks, everyone tunes in from time to time, and I'm trying to get my YouTube game up a whole lot. Finding time to do it. Well, no excuses. We're not going to start this week off with excuses, guys. Let's keep it focused on the education. That's really how we break down the barriers here. So our PTSD test. All right. Let's just delve into it. Really important because I see a wide range of presentations of PTSD, ranging from military trauma, sexual assault trauma, neglect from living with an alcoholic or drug abusing parent, or a parent that was otherwise physically or emotionally abusive, marriage type abuse, motor vehicle PTSD, which I tend to talk about at length because driving around in a motor vehicle is the most dangerous act that we'll do on any given day from sun up to sundown. Anyway, so our PTSD test that we use is indispensable sort of in our diagnostic armamentarium, really because it gives us a front end means of getting a lot of information on the front end en route to diagnosing a patient solidly with post-traumatic stress disorder. All right. And our PTSD test that we use in my clinic is able to quickly assess on a numerical basis the 17 symptoms of PTSD that we look for, also in conjunction with other comorbid conditions and other prognosticators that we use to sort of get a gestalt global picture of the context of the patient's history and what was surrounding the events and what might have led up to the event that caused the stress reaction, the subsequent stress reaction, and also the events that followed after the traumatic incident in terms of how they've progressed in terms of coping strategies, whether or not they've been to a physician or a counselor or been medicated, and subsequent attempts, things that otherwise might be pertinent, like drug abuse or alcohol history, that sort of thing. Other mitigating factors are things like whether or not they've been incarcerated, that sort of stuff. Bouts of homelessness, that sort of thing. Social factors, all right, unemployment, things like that. There's a lot to consider when you look at the whole deal. So how it goes with my particular PTSD test is patients do a front-end questionnaire that's free. All right, and I think this is a very important point. I don't want to delve into the selling of my company and how awesome it is, because it is awesome. But I like to just sort of shed some education. Oftentimes in the medical cannabis business, you know, I'm not the only doctor that comes into contact with PTSD, medical cannabis certification game here in Arkansas. All the doctors do. But one key difference with mine is that we're able to do a full assessment on the front end without making the patient pay for it. Okay, this is key. I think about this really in terms of both patient economics and public health, because if you attach a cost to it, then it's going to make people, A, more nervous and eyeball you more and make them more hesitant to want to use your company. And B, it's just going to cost them. All right. So it's lose-lose there. And really, at the end of the day, the patients are also curious themselves, okay, before the step of certification occurs. They're curious themselves on the front end, okay, how much do I really quantify how bad my PTSD symptoms are? Because that's the whole basis behind the clinician applied PTSD scale, also known as CAPS. All right. And it's important to talk about CAPS because CAPS was developed by the US Department of Veteran Affairs in 1989 through their Department of PTSD Studies. Okay. The US Department of PTSD Studies is launched through the VA hospital. Okay. They're the ones that started it. Probably from what I can glean, mostly in response to Vietnam veterans, Agent Orange type stuff that was starting to really pop up. What started to brew in the mid to late 70s with vets coming back and moving on up through the mid 80s when we were starting to really use PTSD as an actual term in physician diagnostic vernacular. So that's how this whole bit started with the CAPS, the clinician applied PTSD scale, which goes through those 17 symptoms of PTSD, which I might touch on a few, but I don't want to get caught up in the weeds here. No pun intended. I don't want to delve into the details and waste time picking peanuts out of poop. But we'll touch on some of these symptoms a little bit later. Yes. Good morning. So yeah. So basically, how this started was this is a patient reported symptoms scale where patients will touch on each symptom, each of the 17 symptoms of PTSD on a scale of 0 to 4, from not at all in terms of severity to extremely severe on the 4 side of the scale. And these fall into 3 basic clusters, which have to do with memories of the incident, aversive memories of the incident, reminders, the fight or flight response, avoidance, subsequent mood disorder, that sort of thing. Those are roughly the 3 clusters that those 17 symptoms fall into. All right. So basically, this takes an inventory of those and attaches a numerical score to it, which is great because that it's very robust. This test is very robust in that it holds a lot of psychometric power in being able to connect a subjective patient complaint and put it on a spectrum, yet quantify it at the same time so that we can translate it into usable and reproducible data and compare oranges to oranges. Say if some person had military PTSD versus somebody who survived a tornado and might have lost a family member. Those are 2 completely different things, but we have to sort of scale them on the front end to just get an idea of how severe these symptoms are intrusive in terms of functional quality of life. And that's really where we land on the latter part of the inventory and the subsequent history that we take, which sort of brings me into my segue of things of how I apply this PTSD test to my everyday clinical practice in cannabis medicine. Okay. Really this subject is important, and I don't want to delve too much into the weed part of things here, ladies and gentlemen, because while pertinent, that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. At the same time, the diagnostic part is really where the meat of the matter is and where the work is actually involved. Okay, and I can't underscore that enough to patients, whether it's cannabis medicine, internal medicine, family medicine, pediatric medicine. Medicine is medicine, and it has to follow. It has to follow a scientific and very set sequence of events in order for it to move forward. And before we can even think about certifying someone for a medical cannabis card, we have to make sure that we capture the diagnosis and that we've done our due diligence in making sure that we're selecting the correct patients for medical marijuana, because it's just not a for everybody thing. All right. Contrary to some popular belief, it's not getting the world high. But I don't want to pontificate too much on pejorative political stuff. We'll keep it business here, guys. So how I apply it again in my clinical practice is once we get that screening score right, um, from our patients, it's evaluated. We look at it, and the patients also, they submit their freehand history, which is really crucial to us, which is something that we've hybridized and integrated into our system to give us a broader scope of what the context of what's happening or what happened with the patients both then and what's happening now. Because we, per our request and our standard operating protocol, we build it into the language of our survey such that the patients have to put, they're mandated to provide a full and accurate history of what happened, the when, the where, who was involved, what happened. Because in order to fulfill the PTSD diagnosis, there has to be an event nature, okay, or a series of events that occurred to substantiate the diagnosis. Okay, if patients only report symptoms, for example, depression, anxiety, jumpiness, generalized anxiety, but they don't attach events or series of events to it, then you don't have post-traumatic stress disorder. That's why we go through a series of questions and a full history, top to bottom, just to make sure that we've done as much as we can to get from the patient what happened, what's going on, where do we go from here, what are we going to talk about when we do the clinician interview, which is where I come in. All right. After the screening, the power of the screening tool is that when I land on the patient, when we get to our face-to-face, I know the story as much as I can before getting some back and forth with them about their understanding of medical marijuana and the risks and benefits. Okay. Risks and benefits are important to talk about. So if I can get a lot of the work done on the front end in terms of getting a really, really good history, okay, if I can do my due diligence and getting a really, really responsible, good history on the front end, then I've done my work, okay? That's my take on it. That's my job in it, okay? Making sure I've got the diagnosis. The rest is pretty much straightforward and linear from there. As long as I've done my responsible work in evaluating a patient and getting good history in terms of other things that might be going on, recent events, sequential events that could have happened right around the time of the trauma. Trauma can happen in the context of, say, a divorce, a death in a family member, a series of things, oftentimes 3. I don't know why, weird stuff. But sometimes things can happen. They'll cluster, all in a short period of time. And, the sky can fall down for some people. And I won't know that level of detail unless I get the narrative from the patient. Answering questions and ascribing numbers is a close, cut and dry score thing that'll give me an idea, but that's not meant to be exhaustive in terms of capturing the diagnosis. And I want that to be very transparent, that when we use a screening tool like the PCL5 or the CAPS or a lot of other little variants that came from the original inventory developed by the VA, once you get that score, that's your work isn't done. Your work has just started to indicate whether or not they're a warm candidate to getting close to that diagnosis, okay, or whether or not they're scoring low and they're just feeling too soft. It's just like, sorry, not enough trauma there. Stubbing your toe in the middle of the night, not traumatic enough. I got scared, thought I saw the boogeyman. Sorry, probably not gonna. Sorry, can't certify everyone, right? So if if the story isn't robust enough, then those things will just sort of pass on, and the patients are uniformly not happy about that. But it's what I've got to do in this business, just to make sure we're on the up and up and staying in compliance with the state of Arkansas. They're very clear in how they want us to appropriate our diagnostic efforts to make sure that we're being responsible in how we're selecting our patients for medical marijuana cards. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to give you guys the top to bottom and really, I'll get into the interview part with the patients. At that point, I finished the screening part that combines with the freehand history that patients say, okay, back at this time, I experienced trauma. I lived with a bad spouse that berated me and beat me and tortured me and said bad things and did a whole lot of stuff. And then I was thinking about maybe hurting myself, and I drank a whole lot, and I went to a counselor, and I was put on antidepressants, and I didn't like them, as what often happens, or anti-anxiety medications, and I was put on insomnia medication, and I took them. They worked for a little while. They stopped working. Someone might have said something about marijuana. I tried it in high school, but it was only for a short period of time, and then I moved on with life, and I heard it might be good for PTSD, and then that's how they'll land in front of me. All right. Sometimes that's just one way. People might have tried marijuana at some point in the past, usually recreationally, high school, college, whatever. Friend gave it to them. They went to the drive-in, what have you. Which is fine. No judgment ever from me, folks. Right? No judgment. I work with the public here, people. I just wanted to say that, and this is important. If I can just digress away from the PTSD test part, because I want you guys to understand that it's super important for patients to appreciate the power of being able to get an idea of what's in front of them in terms of how bad their symptoms might be, and also give patients an opportunity to write out the narrative so they don't have to spill it to me when we're doing the interview. And it's also a slight little means of catharsis where patients can sort of get it out of their system and say what it is that's going on. And that's a big part of the healing process, also known as post-traumatic growth. And I did a video on that maybe a couple of weeks back, talking about post-traumatic growth, because people can use unfortunate events as a catalyst to propel themselves to a greater appreciation for life and just more emotional investment in the productive, happy parts of life. Okay, that's why we do this whole thing. And I don't mean to get touchy-feely, but PTSD is all about raw emotion. Okay, and that's why we take a history. All right, we have to find out what's going on. Before we can move forward, we have to know what we're dealing with and what we have ahead of us. And sometimes some folks have gotten far in their path towards doing a lot of healing and finding good coping mechanisms. All right. And some people are early on in the process where they're learning what works and what doesn't work. Okay. Some people get early on in the process where I'll see them 1 year and then recertify them again subsequently, where they would have started out taking antidepressants and trying to wean themselves off. And I never force people to try and move in one direction or another with the meds that they're currently taking. All right. That's a patient choice, patient values thing on their own. Okay. But we'll meet again a year later and they'll say, Doc, I tried the marijuana and I found a good balance where I can take a reasonable enough dose and feel like my symptoms are well controlled, and I don't have to use my prescription medications anymore and have to wonder about what it is that I'm putting in my body and, all of this stuff about maybe it not working. I feel more comfortable using a sensible dose of marijuana, and I feel like my mood is even. I still will feel anxious or depressed, or symptoms, whatever, will come and go, but I'm able to weather the storm a little bit better, and I'm able to catch my rhythm in terms of my daily happiness, grinding out a little bit more daily, I shouldn't say grinding, but squeezing out a little bit more daily happiness, despite the little waves that might come, So that's the really important part of getting our hands around the diagnosis of PTSD so that we can do a whole lot of healing here, folks. That's the part of the patient interview that I love to focus on, and I think is really huge, because a lot of times people are not using enough of the other tools apart from marijuana to get themselves to the end point. That's why we talk about responsible use when it comes to the patient-doctor thing. Once I know I can clinch that diagnosis of PTSD, we can move on to treatment. It's diagnosis, then treatment. The diagnosis starts with a history and physical and ancillary things that we don't use in the marijuana clinic, like imaging and that sort of stuff. I use it if patients have documentation, MRI, X-ray, whatever, showing degenerative disc disease, shoulder, knee, whatever stuff going on. That always helps. Oh, I love getting paperwork. I love getting images, right? But in terms of me, what I have to order and use, all that stuff is not necessary. Anyway, getting the diagnosis from the history is the bulk of what happens. And when I get to meet them via the video chat that we employ now with telemedicine, I'm able to get a really good feel for the patient. Believe me, the nonverbal folks, the nonverbal comes into play, and I want to be able to see my patients and have them nod and understand that we understand each other in terms of I understand their history behind their PTSD diagnosis, right? And their progress that they've made and the progress that needs to be made. And if we can talk about those things openly, and we can talk about marijuana, you know, whether or not they're new to it or not new to it, which I always jump into. If we have to talk about that stuff and talk about strategy, treatment strategy, then we will. If patients have already gotten enough experience where they know what works for them, then we don't need to delve into all of the minutia of strategy. But for some patients, getting the extra information is absolutely crucial. That's why I aim for a lot of efficiency in my patient interviews and a lot of active listening on my part to make sure that I know if a patient has a gap in knowledge that they want me to address. You see, I'm not here to talk at patients and tell them stuff, you know, just randomly just talk at them. When I'm having a conversation with a patient, I want to find out the types of things that they want to know from me that will get them the most leverage in terms of their overall health, not just strains of cannabis that might be most appropriate to them, even though that is pertinent to the conversation, which is also just my least, not my least favorite question, but I don't like to delve into strains. Let me tell you why. Monday tangent. Guys, you got to allow me the Monday tangent. You guys allow me the Monday tangent. Man, I'm about to delve into work. Let me look and see how many patients I have today. A ton. Friday and Monday. God, I'm dying. Guys, I'm telling you, no lie, right? No bullshit. I work my ass off, okay? Like, I'm not like one of these go hard, worker guy, 12 hours, sun up to sun. Nah, I'm not going to lie, right? It's not that serious, but I wake up early and I get here early and I punch in my hours because I want to be able to see my patients, but I want to be able to do other stuff like write my blogs. My blog is dropping, guys. Check my blog on PTSD, the PTSD test stuff, like what I'm talking about today. I make a written form so people can click on it and sort of go over stuff that I might talk about. So it just keeps it linear. But, guys, it takes a little bit of work to put out the blogs. The vlogs I love doing, but the reason why I don't like to get into the strain argument, as I digress, the reason why I don't like to get into the strain argument is because there's too many damn names for too few things. The real deal Holyfield, right, is that what you get at the dispensaries are really just a lot of cloning going on. All right, when breeders find a high THC strain that they've crossed with another thing that flowers on time and reaps a lot of bud and gets a nice heavy thing and checks all the boxes and hits a lot of profit and gets a lot of demand, patients see the high THC, they lose their mind. They think, okay, gold, right? Higher carat gold is what they think. Not always true, and frequently not true. Okay, aim for the terps, folks. That's why I don't like talking about strains. There's too many weird names. I don't know Granddaddy Kush from Slap Your Mama Orange. Okay, from your cousin's mother's brother to whoever. Okay, I don't know. There's too many to keep up with. How can I direct a patient? All right, no, not fair. Sativa indica. All right, let's just keep it simple on Monday. Can we? Shall we? I say we shall. Beauty of the one way, right? The sativa and indica. All right, indica, in the couch, end the day, right? Sink into the couch, Snoop Dogg it out. Nothing against Snoop Dogg. He's productive. Let's just say end of the day, right? I don't want Snoop coming after. He might catch. I don't think he's watching my stuff. I don't want him to get mad. You know. But yeah. So indica in the couch, end of the day, relaxing, muscle relaxation. You know, help you drift off into sleep easily. A lot better than the prescription medications. You know, with medical cannabis, you know, you drift off stage 1, stage 2, 3, 4 into REM very easily. Whereas the prescription stuff, you skip stages of sleep. So not a sound sleep. So the strain argument, sativa, early morning stuff, busy day, knock out the pain, drab Monday, pay the tax man, have to go see the repo man, that sort of thing. Sativa is the wake you up, get you engaged, get you moving, get you to do that work that you've been putting off, get you busy, keep your mind more into the move and focus and a slightly higher pace of things. So that's where I keep it in terms of the strain argument. Boom, boom, 1, 2, hybrid in the middle, there, intermediate, right, guys? Look, and all the flavors in between, the rest is just going to be stratified by the terpenes. So you have THC percentage, your accessory cannabinoids, CBD, I guess would fall in there, CBC, CBN. I don't really talk a whole hell of a lot about CBN because that's an oxidized agent of the other cannabinoids, indicator of just aged stuff. But it does have its use in inducing sleep, right? So old weed here, pro tip. Hey guys, looking to fall asleep, old weed, your old stuff, all right? Aged stuff. You've been have it around for a little while. You're looking to fall asleep. It's full of CBN because it's been oxidized or otherwise exposed to air. Okay, will induce sleep. 8:58. All right, guys, listen. I'd love to chit chat. I see a bunch of comments, guys. I'd love to check into the comments. Thanks for tuning in. I really dig it. This is sort of my get stuff off the chest. You know, nerd style, cannabis medicine style. Listen, guys, maybe we'll catch up later on in the week. Got to go see patients. I have the actual work to do. This is the great part of the work. Guys, hit me up, armmjcards.com. You know, check out the blog. Blog is great. If you people are curious about cannabis medicine, check out my other videos. Hit the subscribe thing. I always forget. Tell people hit subscribe. Check out my other videos. Hit subscribe. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Enjoy your Monday. Maintain a great level of hopefulness. It's a great week, guys. Look, we're here. I don't mean to sound preachy, but you know, marijuana's magic stuff. It's great stuff. And I think it's a real great privilege that I'm part of this and that I get to serve the public and be able to sort of connect the dots between the public and legal marijuana. It's just a really great thing because patients seem to enjoy it and they've been able to squeeze a lot of fun out of life. And I feel so privileged that I get to be part of it. All right. It's really fun. And I see you guys tuning in and leaving comments. That's just the coolest thing in the world. Okay. It's just a really good feeling. It's really good for the ego. So cannabis community, keep up the good work. All right. I owe a lot to you guys. So I'll make as many videos as you want. If you have questions, we'll hit them up. I love questions, guys. You can throw me curveballs. I'll hit them. All right. But that's pretty much it, guys. Happy Monday. Dr. Dan, ARMMJ Cards. Check us out. Over and out. All right. Be good. Love you guys. Bye.